Hello, Polytopians. The Polytopia World Championship qualifiers have entered their final phase. In the last week of qualifier finals, 4 more players secured their spots in the November face-off. Today, we'll be showing you the Katsali qualifier, won by Nanobot, and the Yadak qualifier, taken by Michu. Expect cloaks, markets, and naval battles with bombers, so brace yourselves for some serious action. If you'd like to join the qualifiers, all the details are in the description. Let's begin.
Hello everyone, welcome to our Qualifier World Championships qualifiers stream. Today with me, great friends of Polytopia and great commentators, Tolbby and Chris. Welcome, guys.
Hey everyone.
It's great to be back.
Excited about excited about the qualifier. Sorry about the Quetzali and Yadakk.
Absolutely. I mean, both tribes are super exciting in their own unique way. For those of you who are watching, you may notice this is the first time my face is on YouTube. So hello, everyone.
Yes.
I'm super excited to be here and talking about these tribes.
Yes, that's Chris's premiere. Tolbby, sorry I interrupted you. My bad.
It's all good. I'm just excited. We're going to be playing with the two tribes that are going to be having the best music in the game. We have Yadak and the better one, Quetzali.
Yeah, Katsali, yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize you had such strong opinions. I should have known, though. I seem to remember there being a tier list from Gully, I don't know, a few years ago, maybe 4 or 5 at this point, that had some very heated comments about which music was better.
Oh yeah, Katsali versus Yadak. That's like the the ancient battle between the tribes. Anyway, so we'll start with Yadak, and as always, we have 3 games for you. Tolbby and Chris will review them, and then after this 1 hour of game watching, we'll have a quick conversation with our Yadak champion, Michu. Okay, so let's jump into the games.
Alrighty. Immediately jumping into the first game. Our first game we're going to be reviewing is going to be between Michu and Oplix. I haven't been told how to pronounce this one. Michu taking the better Quetzali colors for this one. This game is going to be on lakes. So, forgive me if I'm wrong. Yadak has got a new opening style that we're playing around with. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Yadak used to be all about placing a road first. You'd be like, I'm going to expand fast, I'm going to set up my road connections, and then once I capture, I can connect my capital to my first couple of cities and get some really easy upgrades. But roads are 3 stars, and Yadak starts with 7 stars. So a lot of pro players were asking the question after the game, after looking at new Yadak, what if we just upgraded our capital sooner? So the new opening is we're not going to place a road. We're just going to get a second warrior, and we're going to upgrade our capital first, and then be able to afford eco upgrades faster, sooner, using org or hunting, whatever works.
Thank you, Chris. All right, and do you have any map discrepancies of who may have the advantage just with either first turn or resources right in here? From my point of view, they're both looking very balanced on this one. I would really say just first turn has an advantage.
Yeah, the only thing I'm looking at here that either player would really be keeping in mind is that water northeast of the south player's capital. That water is going to tell them, hey, there's a lake on the east side of me, and so I'm going to be wanting to expand northwest first. And no water access in capital, so a little upsetting for them. But both players have 2 nice expansion directions, 3 if we're looking at the north player. So I'm not hating either spawn, honestly. I'm liking them both.
All right, great to see. And without further ado, we'll let both of our players train their starting warriors and let the game begin. And immediately, organization coming out for both players.
We really like this lighthouse spawn. On lakes especially, you have time to develop. So lighthouse spawn for the south player allows them to do this kind of aggressive opening with the road, make up for the lost expansion from the lighthouse, and still be able to upgrade their capital quickly, which is why you'd even get a warrior instead of a road in the first place on the first turn.
Ooh, man, and Lake's map immediately turns into a lake with one very key bridge right here in the center. That's what I am looking at. So are we going to be seeing a bridge play, or are we immediately jumping into Navy here? What's your thought?
Would love the bridge play. I think that being able to go aggressive over water when you already have farming is kind of a bad idea. Why not just get the giants over land instead? But opts not to do it right away, so maybe is eyeing the water anyway. I don't like the water access for the south player, honestly. I think it's going to be a huge problem for them because they need to get a border growth in one of their cities. They only got those 3 tiles of water access, and that's just kind of problematic. There's the bridge. Nice. Love that.
Immediately. We love to see an early bridge play. So potential riders, potential archers, potential knights without the extra investment of a navy. But the expansion from our top player, Oplix, immediately spreading out into the west and the east, about to be picking up a 5th village right out of the gates.
Would have loved to see a wall on that city near the bridge, because you can get defenders there eventually, and that's just a way to lock down that side of the map. And we know the giants are coming soon. I mean, Michu has nothing else to do with his stars other than get giants, and so would have loved to see a defender there, but it's all right. Gonna get giants of his own is Oplix, and 5 cities now, so nice connections. Can also look at trying to maybe get Eye of God, right? So huge potential.
The idea of Eye of God is definitely there. He's going to make a jump for it. Does he go north? Does he go south? If he goes south, the potential is possibly there. Oh, short by 2 movements. He stuttered just 2 steps too many.
Yeah, trade for Michu. That is huge. Look at those markets that are eventually going to be coming down with windmills. That is both giants and massive stars per turn. So that is the counterplay here. The counterplay is I'm low on cities, but I have infinite stars to work with. And my techs are dirt cheap. So Michu has potential to strike back, despite probably going to be down 3 cities going into the mid game, guys. Taking a look at Oplix grabbing the city in the west as well.
Yep, so we've currently got 6 to 3 cities, and every single trade Michu has made has actually gone against his favor. Juggernauts on the water for Oplix. I am loving this border growth idea, protecting the bridge, but also giving, with only 1 city expansion, 2 extra routes of naval access. So he doesn't have to level up these cities and do a border growth. He can go with what we see right there, the population boosts. So he has the idea of getting a giant faster. And look at these marketplaces. We're going to take a look at them. Level 3, level 8, level 4, immediately having an economy that's snowballing out of control.
Yeah, bear in mind, Michu is about to be down 4 cities, but he is still up stars per turn. So that goes to show something about markets, which is that you can be down a lot of cities and still be winning the game. Now, will he win the game here? If I'm being honest right now, this does not look good. You've got Oplix, who just picked up 7th city. Got so much water access, it's actually disgusting.
And there it is.
Yeah,
the Eye of God.
And now sailing, and this is becoming a very crowded lake very quickly. Aquatism for Michu is going to allow for some naval control, some naval dominance, and Oplix is going to respect that and say, you know what, I'll focus on the west side of this map.
The bomber!
Oh, beautiful bomber placement. And what can Oplix do about that bomber? I mean, it is so beautifully placed, protected behind those juggernauts. And Oplix's giants are getting shredded. I mean, look at that.
Yeah, we have 4 giants. Used to be 5. And now it's going to be 5, used to be 6. A second bomber. In this instance,
And a third.
Yeah, look at that splash damage, and there goes the Juggernaut right into the city. And how is Oplix going to defend this? Needs 5 population in that city. Maybe can get monuments, but I don't think it's going to work. Going to try to chip away at Michu's Giants. Michu's going to capture a city. This is crucial. This is where the markets player starts to snowball out of control. When they take a city from the player with the city advantage, they can start to use it to their advantage. Maybe Michu's going to be looking at knights here, but still has to deal with unit spam.
The power of markets is absolutely being put onto display in this sort of matchup right now. Being able to afford so many bombers throws 5 units onto the water, immediately upping 2 of them into rammers, and has now turned a 1 city onto the water into an absolutely dominating lead. There's no way that his opponent is going to be able to get any form of naval presence. We're going to have to be looking at catapults, archers, cheaper solutions, and immediately there's another siege.
And look at that, the one remaining land tile on the other side of that border growth gets a monument placed on it to allow another giant. But that is, what, 3 bombers, 2 more rafts in the water, rammers blocking the port spots for Oplix. Oplix's water control is starting to look like a downside because Michu is using it to harass every single part of the position all at once.
With that
Totally, I'm
level
not going to
6
lie, this went from really good for Oplix to really bad in about 5 turns.
Absolutely, but we see a really long bar, so it looks like Orlix is going to have a lot to say about this, putting a siege with a low HP unit just to cut off the economy, though with markets, that's not going to be saying much in this instance. I'm sure he's regretting not placing those walls, saying that that was his one entry point for his opponent. Gets another population growth into the east, trying to circle around.
So my question is, Tolbby, how do you think Oplix is going to come back? What options does Oplix have to get back into this game?
Well, unfortunately, the first one is going to have to be, he has to find a cheaper way to chip back. Archers is a cheaper solution, but it's not going to be able to solve everything, especially with the amount of presence that we have here, ready to threaten onto the east. All of these bombers threatening this city here, Guliel. And really, the only cities that can produce from safely are actually too far to be able to throw archers at. So at this point, he should have been considering the archers sooner. Now he's going to have to find a different solution, such as hold on until somehow everything wears out. Maybe try to sneak in a couple of cloaks. But even with this juggernaut potential here in the east, as well as about to be in the west, I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, Oplix does have markets of his own, but they came a little bit late, and now Michu has full control in the west, almost full control in the east. This is going to be 2 sieges going down this turn on very large cities. One of them's a giant siege. Is there Houdini possible? Not quite. Okay.
Unfortunately, no, not with this one tile open here.
Yep. So no Houdini potential, and it looks like Michu is going to be able to close it out. That is a siege in the west that is going to hold, and Michu is looking like he's also going to be sieging in the southeast, and that's also holding. Wow, what a game.
Wow, that was one heck of an exciting game. I just want to bring it back to that early siege right in the middle, fighting for that central city of Tsagi. Immediately with the 3 bombers.
Yeah, look at that splash damage. That's just
devastating.
Yeah.
Just look at how much defenders he had right here before everything started happening. We had 1 Juggernaut here, 1 Giant here, and they get all absolutely shredded thanks to the power of markets. Markets being able to fund extra bombers, allowing a full HP Giant in order to siege. And honestly, this is the turning point of the entire game.
Yeah, I think Michu really needed that foothold on Oplix's side of the lake. And so taking that city was what enabled it.
So let's just take a look at his vision right before, seeing if he even had any idea of being able to See, and it's gone.
Yeah.
We'll bring it back up. Did he even have the necessary vision? I think the answer is yes, that he should have actually seen.
Tolbby, could you clear those 2 marks that you made? Yeah, in the middle.
I left those on. My bad. I'll tab too
Yeah.
soon. So bring it on right over to here. And we are seeing on turn 8, when he does this level up, he sees all of this vision. So this is his point of view we're seeing right here. We have one extra city for ourselves right here, one extra city for ourselves right here. While we are seeing the roads here in the south, there's absolutely no unit pressure. And the only way for our opponent to get onto the water is here or with a border growth. So at this point, you really want to be building a wall on this city, because the only way that your opponent is going to be attacking is through the land right here. It is clearly stated with this single bridge right here. So wall was critical, but instead he went with the more economic play.
Yeah. I think it ended up costing him also not being able to race Michu into the water as effectively because, again, no markets, too many cities, tech costs were too high, and once we see these markets from Michu, we have to assume that he's going to be putting a bunch of giants into the water all at once. So needing a little bit more presence there earlier as well.
That's very true. It is really startling to see markets being thrown out on turn 10. So I'm curious of what his thoughts was from that point onwards. But unfortunately, I don't think we'll be able to get to that point of view from this point in time. Because without further ado, I think we're ready for a second game.
Yeah, let's go.
That was one heck of an amazing game.
Yeah, absolutely.
It reminds me the game that Justini played against Cabanos when Cabanos was also in like a very tough spot, and with early markets he managed to actually pull this off and win against a great champion.
Yeah.
Ooh. Alrighty, so once again, we are playing on lakes. We are going to be having our 2 players of Michu and I'm going to need a different name for this one. Kennel.
Kennel, yeah, Kennel.
Quick analysis about the starting spawns. Look at all of this useless territory here in the backs. Not as much over here for Michu. And at this point, we already are knowing that we're going to be having a city either here and probably over here, as thanks to the coastline readings, we already know that this here is water and so forth from this point onwards. So there's not really much of a chance of a city being further onto the southeast. So it's one-dimensional for an orange player. However, we can clearly see this overabundance of resources here in the northwest. For, I believe, Michu, it is an overabundance of resources here in the southwest as well, making the expansion plays very easy.
Yeah, I'm really, really interested. I see that shoreline northwest of Michu's capital. There's a village there. I would bet with 99% certainty that there is a village on that tile.
That's a
and
good
why
catch.
do I care? I care because I want to see cloaks on the water into Kennel's capital in this game. I don't care who does it. I want to see it. I love it when there's a backdoor city that just goes directly into your opponent's capital and they are unlikely to know about it. And Michu is kind of set up to make that happen. So we'll see which one of them bridges over to that little spit of land later in the game, but they both have the option.
That's going to be super exciting. Without further ado, let's let our starting players get their warriors trained.
And there it is. Ruin for Michu and goes for it first. I do like that. Yadak can really benefit from the early stars, maybe going for a few extra roads in the opening. Gets a sword.
Swordsman.
That's not exactly where you want to see that sword spin. Unless your opponent's in the south, but we know that they are not. So Michu gonna have a little bit of a sad swordsman here.
Yeah, we're going to be finding out very, very quickly. Are you expecting the swordsman to make a detour and start heading over into the north, or potentially continuing through the south now that we know we have all this empty territory?
I'm expecting the swordsman to, help
A
expand.
road!
Yep. Gonna set up those connections, and oh my goodness, it looks like Kennel is trying to steal the suburb from Michiko. Does not quite succeed, and now the swordsman's backing up frantically, like, hey, wait a minute.
Wait a minute, hold up.
I think I
Something here's
forgot my
not right.
job. My job was to fight things. And Michiko going to be able to hold down that suburb. Almost lost it, but fortunately did not.
Ooh.
So I used the swordsman after all.
Mm-hmm.
The swordsman's actually going to be applying a lot of pressure onto the opponent, because even though we have the siege happening, and we're going to be having an explorer so we can get that extra vision, and there's the lighthouse, exactly what you want to see.
And now we know that if I had bet real money on there being a village on the other side of the lake, I would have been out of that money. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, no cloaking.
No bets here. Yeah.
Well, you can still see it. You got two prime candidates that are able to make their way over straight to that capital.
Yep. Gonna get another lighthouse for Michiko, and that means the giant is coming quite soon. Has fishing, so we'll be able to just throw down some ports for it.
I am loving the layout of this map. So we actually have 4 ways across land that our opponents can interact with each other just on land, and then we have 3 avenues on water. Well, actually, I guess in this case, just 2.
I would love to see one or both players get on the water. Both players have actually quite nice water access, especially Kennel, who has these really safe ports deep in the position to train units. But we may see a land battle first as the players try to vie for control of that like 2-tile wide bridge between them.
First giant.
Yep.
There's the first giant right there in that capital.
And Kennel took a wall to protect himself from this swordsman.
There we go.
Yeah.
We learned from our last game. If you got a city on the front, you got to get those walls set up.
Yeah, especially if it's under a lot of pressure. But that doesn't change the fact that Michiko is coming in with a giant next turn. So even if Kennel can defend in the short term, that giant is going to present some problems. That being said, it looks like Kennel is up cities, right? Michiko down 2 cities. It's a 6v4 right now, and that gives Kennel access to Rhodes Monument, which is really nice. And there's the water control from Michiko. There's the Juggernaut saying, you know what? I don't even care about that walled city. You can do whatever you want with that. I'm looking at the capital. And maybe Kennel going to take that opportunity. Yep, going to get a giant in that walled city. Going to try to pressure back while Michiko is getting in the water. Not sure it's going to work out so well, though, because Michiko already has 2 Juggernauts sitting in that lake right next to Kennel's capital and can continue to get additional units.
Ramming.
The first rammer!
Absolutely. And, oh, Kennel, no siege in the south. Maybe knows that Michiko can unsiege, but now sailing as well. And this is going to allow him to cross that lake in the south between them and maybe send this Juggernaut over to some of those cities in the west, which have been training warriors for the last few turns. And here we see Michiko transition back to land. And notice the Juggernaut splash on both sides, going to bring that giant down to 12 HP.
We've actually got the city in the south of Cole being sieged, and so many warriors from the orange player here. We've got 3 of them at full HP and 1 sieging. We can absolutely unsiege here, but I'm not seeing the city staying under Michiko's control for very long. And in fact, he's actually heading backwards.
There it is. Yeah, the defender is going to hold that down for a little bit, and maybe Michiko can get a wall there. But Kennel's hanging on, right? This attack came in quickly from Michiko. It came in on both the water and the land, but Kennel is holding. Kennel is able to stabilize, at least in part. And now the giant advantage is coming through for Kennel. Tolbby, what do you think the options are for Michiko in this position to try to create some kind of counterplay?
We've got so many different options. We have the really expensive knights. Unfortunately, without the power of markets, knights are just really expensive. He's going with defenders, trying to get stronger units onto the water, but unfortunately, he's just getting outmassed in every single front. A 4 to 6 city game, and it looks like
And
that's
he's
going to do it.
losing that city in the south. Yeah.
Yeah.
Michiko resigns.
I think the big difference between this game and the last game was both the pace at which Michiko got markets, but also that attack from Michiko was very focused at the beginning. It was trying to get control of the lake, and it almost succeeded. And then it was forced to transition back to land when Kennel got giants of his own and started bringing them in to Michiko's cities. And so we end up in this situation where Michiko's attack fizzles out, and because Kennel is up cities, that's the game.
Absolutely. So was there any place where Michiko could have actually had a better chance of turning this game into his favor? Because we had that early swordsman vying for all bunch of pressure here in the center, but you could just see that with one city wall, all that pressure kind of just fizzles out.
I would have loved to see staying on land at the beginning and saving up for markets if possible. Maybe construction. The market spots weren't fantastic for him, but they would have at least allowed for some kind of counterplay, maybe going into knights, maybe going into aquatism again. I mean, Michiko had a lot of time at the beginning of the game. There was a lot of time while the giants were coming in, while Kennel was forced to defend, where it was possible to make some tech transitions, get into markets or get into construction or whatever. And instead, what we saw was a huge investment into Navy, a lot of ports coming down, and ports of 7 stars. I mean, that's a significant investment for every single one, and they weren't getting any additional giants. And so what that ended up happening was all the stars that could have gone into construction markets went into funding a naval attack that ultimately fizzled out over the course of about 3 or 4 turns.
I'm all about the cheaper solutions. I would have loved to have seen archers because of the small lake mass we have right here. All you got to do is get all over here into the north. They can support an attack here in the center. It only costs 3 stars per unit, but it does take away from a whole bunch of the other important tech choices. So honestly, I don't think there was an easy way out. I think it was just micromanagement, and instead of attacking here in the center, should have just pulled back and tried to keep the units alive a little bit longer while he afforded a bigger navy.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see how that initial push just fizzled out.
Yeah, and this game also marks kind of a important change for Yadak because back in before the balance pass, rider roads was like almost like a no-brainer, and here we can see a game where like we can't see any riders, we don't have any riders in sight. So
no riders in sight, but they still would have been useful with how narrow these lakes are.
Yep.
Alrighty, we're gonna jump into the final game. We're going to be having Michiko versus Astria.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, bring this up. And once again, playing on another map of lakes, we're seeing a repeat of very minimal directions that we could begin expanding to for our starting players.
So it's lakes again?
Yep, one more game of lakes.
Okay.
All right. I don't have any important stuff to bring up other than the potential power of combining this lighthouse with an early organization play, but with 2 spaces away, it's a little bit of a far of an investment. So I'm sure we'd be spending our warrior heading forward in the first place. Without further ado, let's get our beginning warriors trained.
Yeah, let's go.
Oh, an early road. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is the
Good
road
old times.
opening. It still works. It's just a little bit unconventional. But we see the player in the west get laked a little bit, right? They don't have really anywhere to go. And so they're going fishing first instead. And I really like this. Port connections all around. and the ability to maybe grab a potential village in the northwest part of the map. And there it is, the Explorer revealing a nice positional target. Both players probably gonna have to fight over water, though. This does not look like a land battle. I don't see any bridge spots. And so being in the water first is a huge advantage.
Yeah, not a single bridge spot in play, so it's going to come down to who can get the outside villages first and secure more naval access. And right now, it's looking like it's going to be going to our first place player, Astria, who's going to be getting that advantage, and immediately sets up to take a ruin instead of the village.
Yeah, I do like the ruin play here. Could enable an earlier giant. Techs are also going to be really important here, looking at sailing, looking at ramming, looking at getting naval control with 3 cities that all have water access, especially since at this point in the game, we realize that Astria is going to be down probably 1 city if Michu can find that nice bridge play in the southwest to potentially deny or at least obstruct that southwest city. There's a beautiful bridge spot.
I'm loving the access to that bridge spot right over there in this south. Getting our first scout onto the water, immediately recognizing that this is a lake map. So unlike the last map we saw, naval dominance is going to be the deciding factor for this entire fight.
Yeah, and look at that. Spots the bridge play immediately. And immediately says, you know what? If you capture that city, I'm sieging with the full HP warrior. So you have to do something about that. Maybe we're going to see scouts. Yes, we are. And this will allow the unsiege.
Absolutely. We definitely could have had just this raft move right over here, or even just onto the own water to prevent the opponents from moving over the bridge. So that siege was absolutely... the bridge play was deniable.
Yeah, the siege was definitely deniable. I think in the end, still hanging on to the city is going to be crucial because now Astria is not actually at a city disadvantage. Now it's going to be all about pumping units into the water as fast as possible. And that's why we're seeing both players making full use of their port spots.
Yeah, siege back.
Look at that. So many units already on the water. And our first juggernaut from Michu.
Yeah, but look how many units Astria has in the water already. This is going to create some huge problems. Astria picked up navigation on the last turn, so we are going to see bombers yet again. And now rammers from Michu is a nice counter, but still under an enormous amount of pressure. Dealing with sieges every turn from that city with the bridge, kind of backfiring at this point. Because it's allowing for a land-based attack. And I don't see a way... Tolbby, do you see a way for Michu to hold on to that low-level city in the middle of the position that this Giants just walked into?
Absolutely not. He's going to have to get some specific text just to get a quick level up. And instead, actually goes with Scorched Earth.
Yeah.
That's probably the correct play.
If you can't have a giant, neither can they. Not a bad play whatsoever. Astria is still weaving and bobbing through the position, finding another siege in the southwest, even though the giant is sitting right there. And now up to that critical 6 city count, going to allow for the eventual Grand Bazaar. Okay, I would have loved to see a Warrior Houdini, but obviously not possible here. Just going to push it off instead, which is perfectly respectable.
Very much so. But now at this point, we can get 2 more juggernauts onto the water and hopefully be able to do something to vie for a little bit control here in the southern parts of the map. Meanwhile, we've got 3 warriors, and there's a city wall.
Yeah,
Michu absolutely recognizing that this city is vital. If he's got all the pressure here in the south, he needs to make sure it's defended in the north with minimal investment.
Absolutely. That time that Astria spent attacking Michu's position in the southeast allowed Michu to get a foothold in the water in the west, and that is why you see these 2 rafts getting loaded by Michu way up in the north, completely uncontested, can maybe turn those into rammers, And so, yes, Astria winning on land has that city taken from Michu, but Michiko winning on the water, and so it's not quite as one-sided as it may seem.
Opts to land one of their juggernauts onto the land, and this giant is actually currently threatening a siege onto the capital.
Yeah,
Are we going to be able to see a back door?
I don't think so. It looks like Astria has the population in that city to get a giant, and there it is, going to get the giant now. But these scouts are just completely uncontested. They are murdering everything. There is no unit near the coastline that can even touch them. And so Astria is actually kind of falling apart. I mean, look at all these scouts in the Oh, what a bomber! What a bomber!
Even with 6 HP, that splash damage is going to be absolutely devastating. That entire scout line has been reduced. It is not completely taken out, though. And we're getting a siege on the central city of Sage.
I think it's possible to unsiege. Yes, it is, just barely with the Juggernaut splash. And
the Navy is gone.
Yeah, wait, Astria is fighting for the water now. What happened? Michiko, what happened? You had full naval control. Bomber said hi, I suppose, but, you know, looks... Wait. Is Michiko about to take back that city? We shall see. There's a ton of units around it, but they're all low HP. Maybe a defender siege coming through up there.
Juggernaut's fighting for control. This Juggernaut's going to be going down, and at this point, it's going to be about who has the most units, more likely the Rammers. And the Bomber is gone. So the Bomber did not last for long, but the tech is still there. We have 2 rafts ready to upgrade. In fact, this one over here in the north, we're just a few stars short, though. It would have been spectacular to have seen that splash damage affecting every single unit. This tile here is threatening a massive effect going across every single unit there. And Sage is being sieged again.
Yeah, and this time by a defender with Rammers blocking. Now we're seeing the bomber play coming out from Astria. Needs that bomber to survive. Both players have defenders as well. The most annoying naval unit you can have in the game. 15 HP, very cheap. This bomber's getting reduced to low HP in the next couple of turns, most likely. But Astria is still hanging on. I mean, look at how Astria has been able to hold that city in between Michiko's cities for the past, I don't know how many turns, probably 12 at this point. And it still hasn't fallen. Tolbby, tell me, who is going to win naval control at this point? Because I can't tell.
At this point, we have whoever picks up Aquatism for that extra defensive bonus, but because of the presence of this bomber, there's a massive area on the map that our purple player is unable to go to, and immediately it's now starting to head out, and it's protected.
I think someone needs to hire you as a fortune teller, because as soon as you said that, Michiko picking up Aquatism, and it is devastating. Look at those rammers. Not unkillable, but nigh close to it. Going to create some huge problems. And now we're seeing a veteran warrior siege, and I think finally on turn 28, Michiko is going to recapture that city that was taken by Astria all those turns ago. But the game is nowhere near over because Astria's got all these rammers in the water on the south side and can still look at trying to get some bombers. And yes, there it is, bomber.
There's another bomber there in the south. This time, no way for Michiko to actually get to that. And that's a win for Astria.
Hang on. Did anyone else just like back up and go, wait, why did he resign? Because, I mean, he just captured that city back. It took a year and a half, but we got there. I guess was looking at the naval control and looking at all those rafts from Astria that were going to become bombers in future turns. Finally kind of slipped away from Michiko, who had been maintaining naval control for most of the game.
But at this point, it's gone.
Yeah. I mean, what an up and down game, complete roller coaster. You thought someone was ahead somewhere, and then 2 turns later, it's completely flipped. I feel like both players were playing this elaborate game of whack-a-mole because there were just too many problems in the position for either of them to deal with all of them at the same time. And eventually we saw that Astria must have pulled a second hammer out of a bag somewhere because that game of whack-a-mole got a lot easier with the bombers.
Yep, finally found a place where a bomber couldn't be contested against, and that was just enough in order to shut down that entire navy. That was such a spectacular game.
Yeah,
At the
what
very
a
end of
game.
all of this, Michiko ended up with the most points and won the Yadak qualifiers. And all of this is able to show such a wonderful display of what Yadak is able to accomplish.
Absolutely. And let's not take anything away from either of these players who had been fighting for this for a while. Astria fell just short, but Michiko, who had gotten second in a previous qualifier, and so this was sort of the redemption arc, finally making it to the finals and taking home the trophy this time. So I think there was a fire under Michiko to actually get there and make it happen, and does do it this time around.
That was such an amazing game. Alrighty, Gato, without further ado, I mean, there's not really much we could say about like what went wrong anywhere. This is a fantastic game, displayed by both players all the way from start to finish. I think it really just came down to that slight unit control. A lot of resources ended up being spent on this central city of Etz. And unfortunately, even though he finally won the battle, the opponent was the one that, without a doubt, won the war. Thanks to the sneaky drafter all the way down here. I don't think there's anything that could have been done about that.
Absolutely. And it sort of ended up falling apart from there. But for a moment there, it really looked like Michiko had everything locked down. So well played to Astria being able to turn it around.
That'll do it for these games. Without further ado, Gato, we'll pass it back on to you. I believe you're muted.
You're currently muted.
I believe you're currently muted.
Yeah, so technical issues. We are waiting for Michiko to join.
Alrighty.
I mean, there were a couple things about this game that I think were super interesting. The first was that, as we were talking about before, there was this meta opening with Yadak where you don't get roads and you just go straight into organization. And Astria says, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to get a road anyway. And ends up going fishing first. And we saw in the game how that turned out. Being on the water first allowed Astria to get some pretty far away villages that ended up kind of evening out the city count, despite the fact that Michiko's cities were much closer together and all connected pretty nicely by land. I think additionally we saw from Astria that I really liked was constant pressure on both sides of the map. Being able to throw a giant onto land and take that city was obviously fantastic. But even beyond that, just sieging Michiko all the time, keeping the pressure up, denies stars, forces Michiko to back up in certain instances, creates space, and as we saw was what really allowed Astria to build up a navy in the south side of the map, which is what made that bomber at the end safe. And I think that was a crucial piece of information, right? Michiko had all these ports up in the northeast side, training a ton of units up there, but didn't really have a way to easily contest the water in the south. And so Astria says, you know what, long term, I'll put more units into the water down there, and even if I'm losing, and even if Sage is getting sieged every single turn, I'm still eventually going to be able to turn it around. I'm eventually going to have a buildup of units strong enough to make a safe bomber, to chew through those defense bonus rammers that are so hard to kill.
It's absolutely fascinating to see how there actually was one point in time where there was pretty much no Navy presence at all from Astria. And then somehow it managed to just, within like a couple of turns, just completely flip the script.
Yeah, I think what we saw from Michiko was a huge commitment on land of all of those warriors to try to take back that city. And it works. But at what cost? All those warriors are staying on land. They're not becoming rammers. They're not becoming scouts. And so Astria is training 3 units per turn that are going into the water all at the same time, or even 4 units, and they're all becoming rammers. And this is a crucial concept for improving your naval play. It is all about unit count. If you do not have enough units, and guys, I just played a game yesterday that ended horrifically, and it was in part because of this. You don't train enough units, your opponent is going to overwhelm you. And if they can lock down your port spots with naval units, you will be unable to get back into the water easily. And that is when your opponent can start grinding out the game with bombers and really denying all the space on the map.
I could even see right there on the previous turn of turn 28, being able to move that one defender forward. And at that point, that's pretty much when the game was sealed.
Yeah, our guest is facing some problems with his browser. It's denying access for the microphone. Do you guys know where do you have to click to kind of unblock that?
Something else might be using the microphone.
Okay.
So if he's doing something like through Discord or any other apps or like that, if something else is already using it, then it's not going to allow something else to use it. That's the first thing I would guess.
I was prompted to allow access, so I'm not sure where that pop-up originates from.
Yeah, the other thing may have to be just to close it completely, relaunch it, and try it again and allow access.
Yep. But stay tuned, everyone. We're going to get our guest on the line here in a second. In the meantime, any commonalities between all 3 of the games? Things that you noticed from the players that won, from the players that didn't win?
So the thing I'm actually loving about all of these is all the different openings that had occurred in every single one of these games. There's no single line that was played every single time. We got to see the lighthouse opening, where using the lighthouse to get a very early level 2 capital to get a stronger economy right out of the gates. It does mean you expand a little bit slower by doing so, but sometimes that extra economy can equate to more units, and in the long term, even more economy, as long as it's invested properly. We also got to see in this game the road opening of, it was honestly a massive gamble, because if we ended up having the other village on one of these 2 tiles instead of here in the center or here in the south, this road play right out of the gate would have been very penalizing, and this game would have been completely different. But in this case, the gamble had paid off. So there's no necessarily best opening. In this case, one of our players took a gamble to say, hey, if I could do this, I can expand faster and potentially gain an advantage. And in this case, it paid off.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like one common thread for me has been the importance of naval control, even if a lot of battles are being fought over land. We saw Michiko in the game he won versus Oplix, getting the markets up and getting into the water. And even though the majority of the territorial gains were over land, and what I mean by that is going through that bridge in the center of the map, it was about getting water control first to get bombers that then enabled the chewing through of those giants eventually and opened up the position. And here, yes, there's no real avenue for land combat, but Astria was actually able to make the most progress all at once when that giant landed and stole that city from Michu, who left a small opening in the position that Astria immediately capitalized on.
Yeah, that small opening really did make a really big difference, because being able to essentially cut off one of the cities from all the others also had turned the game into a 4-6 city game. And in the long run, the one with more cities typically will be the one to win. But I just love this aggressive setup that began, and unfortunately, we didn't get to see that lighthouse. But right over here, when the Juggernaut makes its way down, and seeing this specific opening right here, we have the Juggernaut here, allowing one simple path right onto the land to immediately threaten that city. And there's unfortunately nothing that can be done except for investing into defenders or leveling up the city for a very, very fast giant.
Okay, Michko is with us, so let's try.
Can you hear
Awesome.
me?
Hi, Michko.
Hi.
Can you hear us?
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, fantastic that you managed to join. Anyway, so without further ado, so tell us, how did it happen? How did you become the Yadak champion? Tell us about your way through the qualifiers.
Well, I chose Yadak because it's like the most interesting tribe, and you can win even without too many cities, like in the game against Oplix.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just fun to play. So
Yeah, was it your first choice?
no, I tried Imperials at first, but it didn't go too well.
Mhm.
I was in the finals.
Yeah, so yeah, we saw that actually. I will ask you after this question about the Imperials game. So, which game during those qualifications was the toughest one for you? Who was your arch enemy in this qualifier?
Astria for sure.
Mhm.
He teach me how to play the game basically,
Mm-hmm.
and he's one of the best players. So yeah, it was hard to beat him for sure.
Okay.
I played against him
Yep.
40 times
Go ahead.
or something.
Could you repeat that the last
I've played
sentence?
against we are like 40 times already, and we are like
Okay.
50-50.
Okay. Yeah. So it's very, very close. Yeah. Yeah. So last week we watched this. Yeah. So now we are like turning from Yadak a bit towards Imperius. We watched this game you played against Arthur in the Imperius Polyseum. So could you share your perspective, especially on this game where you had a really good start and you essentially pushed him from the very beginning, and he had to scramble the whole game, and then you invested so much in the night in those nights, and it didn't go well for you because Arthur recovered, and then with the water domination, he actually won the game.
Yeah, so the nights were just a dumb idea. I should have just gone water first. We talked with Arthur after the game, and we both agreed that I should have gone water instead of nights. They didn't really do anything for me, and I think I would have won that by just spamming rammers on water.
Okay, so the idea was like you kind of wanted to overwhelm him with the knights, and it didn't work out. So yeah, could you explain that?
Yeah. I thought that I needed the knights for defense, but I should have just attacked on water.
Okay.
That he wouldn't be able to pressure me because he would need to defend himself.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Sounds reasonable. Okay, guys, any questions to Michiko?
One thing for me was like, do you think that you and Astria are now 50-50 after this much time, or do you still think that he's the better player?
Sorry, I didn't really hear that. My internet is lagging a bit.
Oh, okay. I was asking. You said that you learned from Astria. You guys were on the same team for a long time over on Poly Champions. Would you say that you are at the same level now in live games as Astria, or is he still the better player?
In live games? In live
Yeah,
games,
in live games.
we're even. He's better in the 24 hour for sure. But in live games, I don't think. I think Meister is the best. He's better than me, but everyone else is like 50-50 out of the best players, like Anva, Astrea.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Justini, Ram.
Okay, so it's Meister Lampe and all the rest. Okay.
Yep. Those who are wondering, there was a tournament last month where Michiko faced off in the finals against Meister, and Meister ended up winning that. So it might be also coming from that.
Sure. Tolbby?
Yeah, and I lost against Astria yesterday, the finals too.
I guess my last one was going to be that if you ended up getting second again, what was the next tribe you're going to be going for, and why? Do you have another favorite tribe?
Sorry, could you repeat? My internet is lagging again, like, so annoying, but can't do much about it.
Alrighty. Mostly, what tribes would you be looking to play next after this one, if given the chance?
Luxidor for sure. Like, it's one of the best tribes right now after the buff. And it's very versatile too, so you can win even with a bad spawn.
Okay, so we don't have the Luxidor qualifier champion. So let's see who wins this category. Okay, Michku, thanks so much for this interview.
Because he does it.
Yeah,
I think he'll be going for it. I heard him talking about it the other day. It was either Luxidor or it was Chinchi.
Yeah, thank you, Michko, for coming. It was great to talk to you. Good luck in the face-off, and hopefully see you in the finals in December.
Thanks. Bye. Sorry for the internet issues.
No problem. Okay, bye. Okay, so that was Yadak and the Yadak champion Michku, and now we'll move on to Katsali, our next tribe.
Alrighty. I'm super excited for these.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Katsali ones are going to be really
Tolbby
interesting.
favorites.
Alright, so, Chris, you got any notes for Quetzali that you'd like to share with us today?
Absolutely. So first things first, guys, this is a lakes map, but we see exactly 2 tiles of water in both players' starting vision. So feeling a bit more like drylands in a lot of ways. Other thing, Katsali is such a resource-rich tribe. You get so many fruit, so many animals, and then the forests to boot. And now that Katsali starts with 7 stars, you're going to be opening even faster. Maybe looking at getting organization. I can't tell which player's spawn I like more just out of the gate. I think that, Nanobot in the east has a few more fruit to work with, and that's super nice. But PewQ has a more, I would say, more village options. Those 2 mountains for Nanobot could potentially be blocking the path to the village and can potentially create problems later. Additionally, if we look at the amount of fog between both players, it's only 3 tiles. So what that means is that there's actually only 1 village on any given row between the 2 players. So whoever finds that central village is actually going to have a huge advantage, because they're going to be claiming the only village sitting between them and the opponent, and the opponent's not going to have another one to contest.
I'm actually looking at potentially 2 villages here. So I think both of them should have one. I don't know. I haven't studied each of these games yet, because I love to have that little extra surprise. But I definitely would like to side with Orange's, with PewQ's spawn a lot better, because their options on where to go are a lot more directional. And with Quetzali, them starting with shields actually plays a lot into how they are. Slow and steady wins the race. You're not going to overrun them anytime soon. But they don't have to be guessing as much on where their starting villages are. Whereas for Nanobot, he's got a potential village here, he's got a potential village here, he's got a potential village here in the south. He's got a lot of directions, and any of them could also end up being a wrong guess, which would make things even more unfortunate. Without further ado, we're going to let both players start off with their beginning warriors and start the game. Oops.
Yeah, and there it is. The village for Nanobot. This is what I was talking about. Notice that's the only village there. PewQ is going to have to go find a village elsewhere. Does find it, but it is not quite as central as maybe he would have liked. And there's still potential for another village. Northwest of Nanobot's capital. Gets an early explorer, and that is going to tell him everything he needs to know. That is full vision of PewQ's position on turn 3.
This time going with Workshop in the south, not needing to explore. The warrior's going to be moving slow and steady anyway, so might as well keep those extra stars.
Yeah, and we're seeing PewQ playing a little bit more economically, maybe waiting to take this explorer. And yes, does wait to take the explorer, but it doesn't matter. Oh my goodness, that is a horrific explorer. Goes directly into the west, gives no valuable vision. Still doesn't know what the opponent is up to. Has no idea that Nanobot is sending a defender up to claim that village near PewQ's capital. And ladies and gentlemen, if we look at the position, PewQ's got 3 cities. He's got 3. There's a 4th one farther down in the southwest. But he's not going to get that for a hot second. Nanobot is on his 4th. And if we look down near where the warrior is in the south, 5th incoming. So Nanobot basically strictly up cities in this position. And that is huge as Katsali, where you can just level up all your cities willy-nilly. You've got the resources to do it. Mathematics for Nanobot. Tolbby, what are we about to see?
Looks like we're going to be about to see some sawmills, potential markets, or even better, just catapults, able to bring them around here to the back and apply constant siege onto the capital. I am really liking what I'm seeing of lockdown one city as soon as possible. And then after that, you only have this narrow opening here in the center that you have to defend. And also look at this last important bit of detail. We have 1, 2, 3 cities that are able to go onto the water just fine, and they all belong to a single player.
Yeah, even if Nanobot can't win over land, which, guys, he's got 2 giants and catapults versus PewQ's 1, still has the water that he can maneuver over, and that is a catapult on turn 10, staring down the entirety of PewQ's position, saying, yeah, come at me, bro.
So one of the cities is immediately being locked down, putting that catapult in a more defensive position so that way units can still be trained. Instead of moving forward, these 2 giants are being the impenetrable wall, and there's another catapult. So both players already having their mathematics.
Yeah, but unfortunately for PewQ, the door is open for Nanobot to tap that catapult, and now it's at 1 HP. Yes, it's got a kill to its name, but unfortunately that catapult is actually a liability right now because it is a little bit exposed. And Nanobot says, yeah, let me just advance. Let me move my giants forward, but has to retreat because 2 more catapults from PewQ on the way. And now we see why I didn't expect Nanobot to grab that city east of PewQ's capital. It's so close. And PewQ is able to apply pressure to it directly. And did you see that veteran catapult heals the catapult all the way to 15 HP? That is gorgeous. That is absolutely gorgeous.
I'm absolutely loving that play. So instead of having to spend 2 to 3 turns healing up units or just moving it further backwards to spend additional turns, is getting the maximum benefit out of the unit, still raining down terror. But in all of this, while a siege is going on right here in the city of Yaya, we've got multiple units here on the water getting a couple of ruins right there for themselves. All he needs to do is pick up that scouting technology, and we have a swordsman in the south.
Yeah, swordsman is staring down a defender, which, you know, it's not really going to be able to go anywhere, but sailing for Nanobot, and if I'm not mistaken, that is another city in the middle of the map. Bear in mind, Nanobot bought roads, so we are probably going to see Grand Bazaar shortly for Nanobot. That's another monument. That's 3 population. That is a siege coming down as well on PewQ's capital. This is a scramble. PewQ has knights.
Oh no!
Wait a minute. And
Look at
there's
that.
the chain.
1 chain, 2 chain, 3 chain, 4 chain. That is a 4 knight chain hitting down that defender, cutting off all siege heading onto the center. This is going to absolutely allow a brand new offense from the orange player.
Absolutely. I mean, Nanobot's position went from I am completely winning this game and there is no way for me to lose to I have 0 defensive units and am scrambling for dear life. PewQ now has a knight deep in the position that didn't even die because Nanobot had no units. And a giant coming in to attack that city as well. It is looking dicey for Nanobot, who has to slide both of the giants over to defend that city in the northeast, despite the fact that the center is also under pressure. What is the out here? What are we seeing, Tolbby?
Navigation.
As we just saw over here, Nanobot just picked up navigation, and boom! One of the first blasts happens, absolutely devastating the central city of Yaya. At this moment, we have 2 knights sitting over here with a catapult, applying a siege over here to the northeastern city.
Absolutely. And I just want to say, I think Gato has like a bomber 6th sense, because every time a bomber is about to come down, he pipes up and mentions it, and sometimes it's even faster than I am. So
No, I saw the stars, you know, for Nanobot, so I'm not a prophet.
And there's the full HP giant siege coming down on a city that already has 2 monuments placed. Unlikely to get another giant there is Nanobot. So PewQ might be able to secure a 5th city in the position. Both players have knights, but PewQ has trade. And there are the markets going to be coming down. The sawmill's already placed. Just needs to get a few markets down, and that economy is going to explode. Tolbby, what are you seeing here?
I'm seeing another knight chain happening here in the north, absolutely destroying 2 catapults and another knight. Being behind in cities, you cannot afford to lose your cities to knights on the opponent. But right here, we have one final Hail Mary play, a cloak, making its way to the center of the map. Going to be trying to lay siege onto the capital of Nanobot.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be pretty hard to reveal. Additionally, Nanobot has to be very careful about potential knight chains coming through. PewQ able to train a very safe catapult in the back to defend that central city, and so it looks like the cloak may actually be able to slip through. That being said, it looks like Nanobot has found yet another opening in the position. Knight coming through. 1, 2, hits the giant, sees the cloak. If this cloak can come through, it does not. It is running for dear life. That cloak is absolutely terrified of what it's seeing around it. Not used to moving away from the opponent, but here we are. PewQ unfortunately does not find the avenue to land that cloak. Tolbby, I don't know what there is for PewQ here, honestly.
Well, PewQ is making the right decisions. He's done a border growth so he can have a chance to get some units onto the water. Unfortunately, with the way these bombers are set up, there's no way for our opponents to be able to deal with that. So this is one of those moments where it's too little too late getting onto the water. He's going to have to invest everything onto this land and is making a huge investment with markets. Right over here, we have one market. We have two markets, able to really improve the economy. But that is a siege heading onto the Western City. Two giants are going to have to divert their attention. And once again, we have yet another siege setting up the cloak in order to counter siege immediately right after.
Now, if you're seeing what I'm seeing, PewQ kind of just gave away that city in the northeast. And the reason for that is because now it's a prime target for cloaks. That cloak was waiting on the sidelines, and now it is going to see use, going to buy archery first, get that defense bonus for those daggers, and that city is kind of a liability for Nanobot, who is going to be getting cloaked pretty much every turn in that city. Additionally, PewQ able to finally stabilize and kick Nanobot's pesky defenders out of the middle of the position so the catapults can come forward a little bit. And if we could just pause for a brief moment, I wanted to highlight something that players may not be aware of. Cloaks coming from the water onto land leave a small particle effect behind when they disembark. And this is actually crucial in a live game. As we can see, Nanobot has a bunch of cloaks sitting in the water, and those cloaks are trying to make it onto land. But if they land, PewQ will see exactly what tile they land on, which is going to make it exceptionally difficult for Nanobot to make use of those 3 cloaks sitting in that middle lake.
So we've got 24 stars of units that are unfortunately not able to accomplish anything.
Absolutely. They're kind of just sitting there, unfortunately. And because of the fact that they're just sitting there, Nanobot is actually facing some population cap issues in that middle city in the lake, where he'd want to be making bombers, would want to be continuing to assert naval control. And as we can see, PewQ says, yep, I'm going to just eat up those cloaks real quick, and doesn't manage to push through and kill the 3rd cloak from Nanobot. So this was a coordinated cloak attack over water onto land. Managed to succeed in landing 1 cloak, but PewQ has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 knights sitting in the back.
We've got so many knights. 2 chain, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not done. That's a 7th to kill a scout. 7 knight chain. That knight has absolutely earned its veteran title. Unfortunately, we have a lot of daggers here in the north, but another knight able to eat every single unit up. This giant has just been sitting on the mountain, healing up, going all the way from 16, now at 28 defended HP.
Yeah, nice siege from Nanobot using the rider bounce, but it's not over. PewQ still able to apply pressure and is going to be able to put down yet another siege. Decides against it, instead hitting the giant. Good play, being able to weaken that giant and set up for a future siege that will actually hold. That being said, Nanobot finds another angle. Oh, wow, that bridge that PewQ placed is actually such a liability. It leads to a cap siege. Now PewQ is scrambling. Tolbby, what the heck is he going to do?
We also have yet another knight, quite coincidentally placed. All he has to do is take care of the opponent's knights right over here, ready to lay siege. And with swordsmen, the absolute counter knights, or at least supposedly, that is his main defense of being able to not die in 1 hit. But unfortunately, they're quite slow. And in this sort of instance, you're not wanting units that are slower. You need mobility. You need units that are able to absolutely 3-chain and lay another potential siege, but doesn't keep it.
Yep, uses chivalry to destroy that bridge. Doesn't want to be in that position again, but unfortunately misses an absolutely devastating 4,
6, 7, 8. That is a 9-chain veteran boosted. The entire army is gone.
And that's it. PewQ cannot readily unsiege, has cloaks coming in. Nanobot massive naval control and manages to hold that city that was becoming a liability in the northeast after 35 turns of ridiculous back and forth. Nanobot emerging victorious over arguably one of the greatest players to ever touch the game in PewQ.
So I just want to bring up the importance of vision as well as the importance of naval superiority in this game. So we absolutely know only one player had access to that water, but we did know for quite a while that there's a bunch of water on this map and the opponent is making a big push on land, and you have absolutely no water access. So even though I really would have to say that probably every play that was made was the best ones, but right over here on turn 9 when deciding to level up the city, he needed to consider not just for what's going to be for the turn happening now, but a potential border growth. So he had at least some form of way to get units onto the water, so he didn't just relinquish all naval superiority straight to the opponent.
Absolutely. I think additionally, PewQ got devastated by a couple of night chains that really set back any progress over land. After that first night chain of those 4 catapults on, I want to say about turn 14, maybe 15, it looked like PewQ was really in the driver's seat. But Nanobot found some chains back that ultimately allowed him to keep control despite the initial setback.
I just want to highlight the brilliance of this play by PewQ in this game. Absolutely being able to destroy the one giant, allowing this beautiful 5 chain happening here on the east of the map, turning around this entire offensive. And of course, this is something you never want to see, the border growth happening here into the center of the water, absolutely knowing that there's no chance of you getting onto this water. I think both players ended up playing this well, understanding their ins and their outs. One understood that their only way to win was to make sure that they had the better land in the north. And the other player understood that just slow and steady, make sure that they don't get too much of an advantage here in the north, taking this city back. And in the meantime, building up every little thing to the advantage, getting just 2 bombers to absolutely shut down all water access and all support from the city of Yaya, making it from a 4 to 5 city game down to a 3 to 5 city game.
Absolutely. I think additionally we have to highlight PewQ's lack of vision. Could not really see what Nanobot was doing, so got really devastated by the bombers from the fog, the knights from the fog. Was just unable to account for all the possibilities that Nanobot was bringing to the table.
Overall, an excellent game from both players. Go ahead. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get the next game set up. Is there any other final comments that you'd like to leave about this game or how both players played this one out?
Gotcha, what do you think?
Yeah, so PewQ defended beautifully, but yeah, I don't see how he could have won this. Maybe, you know, like, yeah, but without vision. So I was thinking about archers, but without any kind of vision over those bombers, like there was no way to actually recover.
I mean,
he made this mistake that Tolbby already pointed out, not getting the border growth in this Yaya city. But yeah, no, I don't see how he could have, like, maybe, you know, like some lucky cloak. Yeah,
I'm sure chat's gonna be willing to call me out on overvaluing my archers, but I definitely don't think archers would have made too much of a difference in this game, unfortunately, except for a forced defensive bonus. Not with the setup of that lake.
Because at some point PewQ actually took archery, but it was just for the defense bonus, because the archers wouldn't do much against knights. There was too little space to actually do anything with get any value from them.
Yep.
Ooh. So
okay, who's playing here?
All right, you're gonna have to help me on this one, Gato. It's Nanobots versus Guaia.
Yeah, that's that's not any kind of Slavic or Eastern European. I think this player is from China. So,
Yes, Guaia is from China. Actually, is part of an all-Chinese team on Poly Champions. So, has a community over there. Very strong player, has made a name for themselves in the last 6 months or so, I would say. A bit surprising to see them over on Challenger mode. Normally, we see them in the 24-hour games, but I'm sure they'll bring some very interesting ideas to the table.
All right, without further ado, we're going to take a quick look at this map. And over here, we're going to be having, I am on the wrong screen. So we have Nanobot playing as the default green, and we have Guaia playing as Shinshi red. I am really devastated by the sight of this entire mountain pass. That is going to make expansion very difficult right out of the gates. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking both players look like they're going to want to go for the center, and both players look like they have a village there. So this is going to be a game where I expect both players to meet early. And based on the water southeast of Guaia's capital, I'm actually expecting there to be 2 lakes. One that's southeast down there, and there's probably another one in the north, just based on the fact that we see a lot of land over on Nanobot's side. So if I had to guess, even before we see the players expand, this middle strip of land that is hopefully and most likely connecting these 2 players is going to be the crux of the position.
I'm super excited to see that. Without further ado, let's let both players train their starting warriors. And immediately, I'm proven wrong. We got an early level 2 city coming from Nanobot.
Yeah, Nanobot, this is a really interesting opening. This is archery right off the rip. Can go hunting immediately, has those nice forests. And Tolbby, tell me what archers are doing in this position, if anything.
All right, so because of all these forests, it's going to make it to where not only do we have archers to ping off any units that the opponent may have, but there are natural counter to defenders, which, by the way, Quetzali is known for. But also, those warriors and defenders are going to have such a big defensive bonus.
Absolutely, and there is hunting. And recognizing that there is this land bridge. Oh, I think that was an archery ruin.
That was an archery ruin.
The game decided for Nanobot that archery was in fact the optimal play. And I fully agree with spamming archers here, because look at the sort of crux of this position. Guaia has 1 city in the middle of the map, very few land tiles, that is approachable by defenders, and Nanobot has an metric ton of forests around that middle city for units to sit on with defense bonuses. So this is like free real estate to just attack. And now we're seeing the archers building up. What can Guaia do here? Riding in roads, but defenders are just the natural counter.
So I'm really loving what I'm seeing here. Look at the count of these riders. We got 7 riders with roads waiting at the back. They're trying to say, all right, I want to make a breakthrough on this. But unfortunately, this defender has already been trained up, and he has to spend 2 whole turns to heal up units. What's the response? 2 defenders. He's not going to be able to break that wall of defenders. It's going to take 3 riders to bop. Hits these and immediately reduced to near fatal health. And there's chivalry.
Yeah, unbelievable. Chivalry in this position says, screw economy. I don't need that. I'm just going to get knights. And wait a minute. This is a chain. 1.
Bop. 2 chain. Bop. 3, 4, 5, 6 chain. Absolutely destroying everything. And that looks like it's going to be a free city.
Yeah, the 1 HP rider is going to capture that city from Nanobot right in the middle of the position. This is like that knight was a battering ram, and it carved straight through Nanobot's defense. But the game isn't over, despite the fact that Nanobot is
It's
losing.
another siege!
Oh my goodness. How is Nanobot going to respond to this? Only one giant. It has to turn its attention somewhere. Oh, we're going to see Park of Fortune coming down from Nanobot, going to be able to push that knight away. And now Guaja's investment into knights is looking a tad expensive. Oh my goodness, 16 stars laid down for 2 more. And Nanobot is actually up cities, despite the fact that Guaja is clearly winning on land. Another siege coming down from Guaja, going to be able to get a giant in capital eventually with that Gate of Power. But the unsiege is there. There's another city in the corner for Nanobot, who has just been quietly expanding to both the north and south corner.
We're going to get another giant with 2 defenders. They're not going to be able to make any sort of progress here in the south. The city's being sieged here in the center of Wastek. And the entire lake in the north is actually been completely converted for nanobots. This is a massive land push that's happening, and he pushes the knights forward 1 more tile. He's going to defend it, throwing every unit he has. The warrior, the rider, and the city remains his once more, reminding he still is Quetzali, has defenders to defend it. But look at this pincher attack that's going to be happening right over here from all 3 cities. And
yeah, Guaja had a super quick attack with knights, flashy chain that actually almost sealed the game. But Nanobot quietly grabbing cities in the north and the south, keeping some semblance of an advantage, and manages to get the clutch giant push with mining to hold on to the cities close to capital.
I love to see everything that I just saw here. We got to see 2 avenues of Quetzali, a more defensive front with archery of, again, slow and steady wins the race. And we had the super aggressive, because believe it or not, Rider Roads on Quetzali is absolutely devastating, because if you can get a defender right next to that city, those sieges are near unstoppable. And following it up with knights to counter the play of archers, he was threatening to win the entire game with a very aggressive push early on, but unfortunately that comes with the side effect of absolutely no economy.
Yeah, I think what we saw here was Guaja putting all of the marbles into that knight, that first knight, and sort of at that point conceding the water, saying, yep, I'm not going to touch the water this game whatsoever. And unfortunately that allowed Nanobot to both take that city that Guaja could have gotten in the north. We see Guaja capturing it here and then losing it later, but then also getting this other island city that was in the middle. And so even if the game had progressed for longer, what we probably would have seen is Nanobot funneling units into that lake between them, and eventually also applying pressure to the center of Guaja's position from the water.
And unfortunately, as we know, if you don't have presence on the water, unless it's a small body of water where you can surround it with archers, there's unfortunately nothing you can really do to make a comeback. And especially so when you put all of your eggs in an early aggressive basket, which I love to see. But once that aggression was absolutely shut down and we had the pincer attack to reclaim the central city of Wastek, the game was very clearly over. A beautiful game.
Yeah, amazing comeback.
Why was this one labeled as a meh game? This one was amazing. I loved it.
It's because Vorus has high standards, apparently.
That was definitely not a meh game. Alrighty, while I'm bringing up the last game, is there anything else you want to bring up about this one that we could quickly highlight?
Not really. I just want to say Nanobot has been really resilient through these games. Losing advantages, getting chained by PQ early in the other game, losing a city in this game to a devastating chain, but still coming back, recognizing the positional advantages that he has, and staying locked in, staying resilient, able to play at the highest level, even with these setbacks. And so I just want to say very well played by Nanobot in both of these games.
Alrighty, and of course, every single one of these games, we're getting the privilege to be able to see not only Quetzali play, but also as equally exciting, the skin Icarus, always being played by Nanobot. This time, Nanobot is playing as the IMO, what is that, Cyan? Aquamarine? And they're going to be playing against PewQ once again.
The rematch. Yeah, this one was also in the finals, Nanobot versus PewQ. And this was game 2 of a best of 3. Nanobot had won that first game that we watched earlier. So let's see how this develops. It looks like there's a city right in between them. And Tolbby, what about these other expansion directions?
So I'm not super hyped about all these potential expansion directions. Whenever I see a city completely surrounded by water, unfortunately, my first gut instinct is to not head towards it. But in this case, both players should absolutely be beelining it to it, because that city is going to determine, are you going to be defending again across here? Because it's also one of the leading ways to lead to water, which has been very definitive in all these Quetzali games.
Absolutely. And whoever
One
gets
other
that
thing-
city
One other
close-
thing I do want to mention is over here in the north, we do have space for another city, which also coincidentally leads to a very convenient lighthouse play.
What do we think about cloaks here? We haven't seen it yet.
We haven't seen it yet, but I honestly think whoever takes this central city right here is going to be able to throw a lot of cloaks at their opponent, because you may think that, well, they could send cloaks from the capital to cloak that central city, but I would actually differ. I think that this city has to produce defenders and so forth. No, it's more about the support, where the capital would be able to train the cloaks and bring them around to the outside and lead a devastating finisher.
Yeah, I would love to see at least one cloak rush coming out from a player. Has worked in the past in Katsali tournaments, and now that Katsali starts with even more stars, they can get to those cloaks even a little bit faster. But both players have fantastic resources, so we may also just see a very classic, typical opening. I would not be surprised.
There is one last thing that we can at least bring up from Nanobot's point of view, is because of the shoreline access we have here, we can pretty much calculate where that potential village is going to be, whereas from the view of PewQ, he's got 2 potential locations. It doesn't make a huge difference, but one player is able to clearly know how much of an opening they have, because if this was actually a land tile, it would allow a lot more pressure from, well, the much more cheaper method I will continue to say, which is the archer right here. But let's actually consider the more devastating version, a catapult.
Yeah, or even, some kind of bridge play across that gap. Let's not forget the bridge.
Let's not forget the bridge. And without further ado, let's allow both of our players to potentially train their starting warriors.
Right, we have seen Nanobot opting for this turn 1 upgrade instead of getting a warrior, and does it again here. And look at this, PewQ says, hell yeah, I'm just going to slide right in and grab this city in the south.
So yeah, but actually with those defenders, they ignored this space between them. So it wasn't their first choice to go there.
Are we going to be seeing a climbing play coming from Nanobot here? Because that is going to be a long walk around. And look at that, getting an early explorer, just barely misses the lighthouse. Well, we got to make sure that they don't die from their allergies. Should recommend those scouts to take their shots. And we do see a climbing play.
We do, and Nanobot now seeing, okay, I've got 2 villages in the center of the map. PewQ is also closing in on one of them. But PewQ captured this city right outside of Nanobot's capital, and that city is terrible for Nanobot to see.
Oh, this climbing place
Population.
allowing so much. These two central cities are going to be able to level up so quickly.
Shout out from fans, Chris.
Oh, I'm getting shouted out.
Yeah.
Wait, is
I think
that
was
an
Inno,
actual
actually.
swordsman? I think that's an actual swordsman from Nanobot, and immediately Archer's coming out.
Yep.
From
Yeah,
QQ.
Yeah, archers are super nice here. Notice how they can fire across that. I don't even want to call it a lake. I'm going to call it a pond. They can fire across the pond to hit that, at this point, level 4 city that Nanobot has. And this siege from PewQ seems like it's going to hold. The forge spot is blocked. Nanobot cannot readily pop a giant there. Looks like it's instead going to be getting a giant in capital. And I do really like this. Going to try to take back that city eventually with the sword that's coming in instead. But oh my goodness, Tolby, these archers.
There's so many of them with this body of water. They're going to allow so much control, but coincidentally, and we're seeing it from QQ's point of view, there's no vision. And where did that giant come from? Must have been a magic trick. Unfortunately, not going by the name of Houdini. But that giant came out of nowhere.
It absolutely did. And Nanobot bought riding. And I'm mentioning that
another giant push. Look at this play right here in the center. Swordsman gets pushed.
Push.
That is a big threat to those archers right over here. We got two sets of archers. The defender has to back up and defend. But look right here with this territory right here. We have two potential bridges allowing the potential of these swordsmen to allow a strong front. And there's a rider.
And there it is. Nanobot setting up for a potential bridge play in the future. Really, really important here because it opens up that area to attack. Maybe could even get knights and try to send them through. PewQ frantically defending
beautiful chain.
Two giants coming in from Nanobot. Unfortunately, that path is kind of blocked. Two tiles to attack from. No real other way to make progress there. So Nanobot is going to have a really hard time breaking through those archers.
And immediately, as soon as we say it, the first bridge happens. First, you get to see Quetzali's or Icarus's unique bridge on this territory. Getting an explorer here in the north, able to see that there's a lot of ruins, and we have a rogue defender wrapping on around. Meanwhile, the swordsman roads on forward, killing an archer, allowing a very powerful play. 4 archers are going to have to divert their attention, but we have not one swordsman, but we also have a giant immediately coming in from behind. The defenders, once again, having to back up. What started off as a very scary offensive with archers is being pushed back by swordsmen, which archers are supposed to counter.
Indeed they are, but unfortunately, because swordsmen one-shot archers, if you're coming across a bridge and saying hello, that archer is going to be going bye-bye. And sure enough, once again, Nanobot finds an archer snipe with that swordsman, but PewQ isn't out of it. He's on the water. He's on the water in a game that has been fought almost wholly over land.
I'm actually really liking what I'm seeing. Both players are recognizing that, okay, well, the battle's going nowhere, despite both of them making some form of push, even there in the south, on the city of Takil. Getting sieged, it is immediately rejected by the line of archers. Both players are now pushing onto the water.
Yep, and PewQ getting this lighthouse in the west is now going to be looking at Eye of God and Grand Bazaar. So that's 2 monuments that are probably going to be available to PewQ in the very near future. Now we see Chivalry from Nanobot can cross this bridge. But there's the giant pop from PewQ, able to continue to hold in the southeast. That city is so far not too much of a liability, despite its proximity to Nanobot's capital. But here's a chain.
That's a 3-chain, absolutely devastating. More, and instead of opting to kill the archer, goes after the unit on the water, recognizing that while the archer is posing a threat in the now, if he loses that naval presence, the game is going to be over.
Exactly. And notice 3 scouts from PewQ already has a lot of investment in the water and seems to be wanting to continue to invest even more if possible. Nanobot, whereas investing wholly in knights right now, choosing to leave that swordsman as a raft. Tolbby, this game is starting to turn around.
This one is actually really exciting, especially for the final game. We're going to be witnessing more naval presence coming on forward. Not a single rammer in sight, but we have scouts pinging one unit after another, making sure that he can't get a single unit, recognizing there's only 2 avenues of water access.
Exactly. Nanobot is struggling.
He took a little bit too long, too late to get onto that water, and unfortunately, one turn can make a massive difference. These knights were supposed to make him break the difference onto the land. That's the second unit. Bop throws in the first of knights. 2, 3. And it's a 3-knight chain, immediately killing off a lot of units, putting more pressure on to kill. Unfortunately, that was not what he wanted to see.
Yeah, he wanted to see a much bigger chain through PewQ's position from that first knight. And if we're looking at it, PewQ 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 scouts in the water, completely uncontested. And giants walking in to every side of the position. Nanobot at that point scrambling to do anything to hold down all sides of the position, and PewQ able to win by combined pressure.
Alrighty, so this game was
so PewQ had his revenge.
That was a very well game played by both players. Not really much we could say except for what was the timing onto the water. We saw that both players had some form of vision about the opponent going onto the water, because where's the economy of the opponent going? Is it seriously just going into leveling up the cities? No, we've been seeing these giants for a while, so what is our opponent doing? So at this point, that's when we decide we need to start getting units onto the water. And at this point, when we finally get that vision, thanks to the ruins, we realize that our opponent is now getting onto the water. So right here, turn 17 really is the deciding factor of the entire game. What are we choosing to spend our resources on? Well, we have the option of both ramming and sailing. Unfortunately, we need sailing to get over all of this ocean water. But instead, what ends up happening, we get a night chain right over here, sees a unit's on the water, gets the sailing, and then that's it. We only train the 1 unit. We don't train a second. Failing to train a second, however, in this instance, allows our opponent to focus on the 1. And at this point, unless we start throwing units onto the water from our other city here in the south, which we don't have easy access to, we would have to do a border growth either on the city of Truix. Actually, that's our only avenue. Or we have to road units 2 turns in advance all the way onto the water here. Or a third option, which is not available, the central city right over here. And not a single one of those looks appetizing. Every unit on the water must be converted now. At this point, it's about naval domination.
Exactly. And PewQ able to easily close out the game from there. I mean, those giants are getting melted from scouts, and then even if Nanobot tries to push back with maybe some juggernauts, bear in mind PewQ was also closing in on the land. There were 2 giants coming in addition to the scouts that were also threatening to break open the position.
So this is actually a longer version of this game that we saw just before.
Yeah.
When actually this time PewQ was defending, because they were like not moving forward that much, but they were securing those cities in the north and more water domination. So
exactly. And this series between Nanobot and PewQ ended up going to a game 3, which Nanobot won to become the champion for Katsali and the representative in the World Championship.
Okie doke. I think it's a good moment to actually invite Nanobot to this conversation. Hey, Nanobot.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Absolutely.
So great to have you here. Yeah, so tell us about this Katsali qualification. How did it go for you? Which moment was the toughest one? Was it the final with PQ?
Yeah, a lot happened, and I'm glad you guys got to see some of these games here and enjoyed them. Upon watching them again, just see a lot of mistakes that I made. So, tough watch for me, but I am proud of certainly sort of a lot of my macro strategy decisions. I think those went pretty well. My micro tends to suffer quite a bit when I'm under time pressure. And so that's definitely something I have to work on. But yeah, I'd say overall I played, I guess, good enough. And yeah, it was definitely challenging. PQ was certainly a very, very tough final opponent. It actually was, so I won the first game, he won the second game, which is the one on the screen now. And the third game was, I think, the first game that you showed. It was the 35 turn night
marathon.
Yeah, it was a total marathon. Both of us were under lots of time pressure. But yeah, I was really happy I could pull that one out.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that game was really the most impressive of the bunch, especially when you saw that PQ decided to not border growth his like central city. Were you just at that point thinking, okay, Navy, or were you still a little bit too worried about the land battle?
I mean, definitely both. I was certainly worried, especially after he came through and chained all my catapults. Definitely afraid of like losing just straight up on the land. And so it took a lot of focus to defend. And then with, the extra sort of focus that I had, I put that little bit into the water. And because it was completely open, like you said, he didn't border growth. So he had no water access really until he got that Western city border growth. But yeah, with my excellent water access, I was able to not really think so much and just put rafts on there. And eventually they ended up being pretty decisive when I was able to turn them into bombers.
Absolutely. I have one more question for you before I turn it over to Tolbby or Gatso, and that was, I noticed that you were sort of categorically preferring the 1 unit opening and then upgrading your capital on turn 1. Could you talk a little bit about why you like that opening more than the 2 unit opening?
Yeah, so I don't necessarily strictly prefer it. It definitely comes down to how I'm feeling about the map and what I can see. So like on the game that you have on the screen right now, I decided to go for the turn 1 upgrade because I saw those mountains and I was already in my head thinking that I want to go for, if there are a lot of mines, smithery. And that's going to take a lot of tech. So I wanted to get my economy rolling a lot faster at the cost of expansion. In the other games, I think I definitely could have opted for, exploring the turn 0 warrior as well. But I just like getting my economy going and then seeing where the terrain is taking me. So then I can make maybe some more expensive tech decisions later on. And I don't want to just out-expand my ability to buy techs.
Was Katsali your first choice in those qualifiers, or did you try other tribes as well?
Yeah, so I tried to qualify for Imperius, and I actually went up against Michu and Meisterlamp in my group stage, so that went about how you would expect. So yeah, I mean, certainly in a game of war, being the peace tribe is a little bit questionable, but I do like them enough that I think I'm happy with them for sure.
Okay, Tolbby?
Alrighty, so I was about to be asking was Quetzali your first pick, and have you been enjoying Quetzali only after the buff, or did you enjoy Quetzali before the big change of economy?
So I did enjoy Quetzali throughout just because they have just basically the best resources in the game. I really, really, really like the resource density, especially compared to other tribes. Like, I don't know, I think maybe technically Barter might be a stronger tribe or on other people's tier lists, but I just really, really like the resources of Katsali. It allows you to differentiate into many different tech trees. So yeah, and I've been enjoying them for a while, but honestly, I've been playing more of them now than than ever before, given the recent buffs. So it's been great.
I wanted to ask one more question about the format. So I'm sure you've been, kind of aware of how the map types and that kind of thing have been changing as the qualifiers have progressed, and I'm sure you've seen the conversations about switching to lakes only. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly how I feel. So I mean, I do like the idea of switching up the map types and not doing lakes only, just for the sake of like variety. And not just for Quetzali, but other tribes also benefit more from other map types. Specifically, I think with Quetzali, it'd be really interesting to throw Archipelago back into the mix, given the defender rafts and stronger naval units.
Good point.
But I have done some practice against other, really strong tribes on lakes, and I think Katsali does, have a fighting chance. So if it comes down to lakes only, I'll try to make it work.
Gotcha. Awesome to hear, and look forward to seeing you in Polytitans this coming month.
Awesome.
One last from me. I'm curious. Did you prepare thoroughly for this this tournament? Because there are stories like Arthur, for example, where he played multiple games. With all the best players he could find, and there are others like for now the dark horse of this qualifications, which is Slimming Boy, who actually did not practice that almost at all. He's very new in the community. So what was your story?
Yeah, so I can't say that I did a ton of practice specifically for this tournament until the tournament started, and then I realized oh yeah, I want to spend a lot of time. So I was kind of scrambling with my practice. One thing that did help a lot is once I started playing in these tournaments and the qualifiers started happening, I went on challenger mode and just looked at how all the strongest players were playing their games. And my strategy is maybe 50% practice, but also 50% game reviews of just other people, other really strong players, and just going through turn by turn, literally every single action, and seeing, would I do that? Would I do something differently? And that's been honestly the way that I prepare for this tournament the most.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you guys are looking to qualify, game reviews I would also highly recommend, especially since you can access them all completely for free on Challenger mode. Just go into the tournaments and take a look at the matches.
Yeah, it's a great library of poly knowledge, so absolutely for free. Anything else from you guys before we let Nanobot go?
I'm happy I got to see such a wonderful display of the best tribe in the game, so I'm very satisfied.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Nanobot. It was great to have you. Yep. Good luck in the face-off, and we hope to see you in the finals in Stockholm in December. Good luck.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, goodbye.
Thank you.
I'll be rooting for him.
Okie doke. So that's all for this evening. We saw 6 games. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, commentators, for commenting. Thank you, Chris, for showing your face for the first time.
Yeah,
first face reveal.
Yeah.
I want to put it this way. I'm still trying to qualify for the World Championship.
Yeah, I wanted to ask how is this going, because we with Tolbby we are not playing, so.
So I was playing Chinchi yesterday, and Chinchi is my favorite tribe, and I went up against Viking in the finals, and I was streaming for I think 15 people on Poly Champions, and I played some of the worst Polytopia you've probably ever seen in your life. And at the end of the games, I undeafened because I was deafened to concentrate, and I was like, I'm sorry guys, like I'm sorry you had to watch that. Like I can't say anything other than that Viking was the better player. I was up against Viking the Cat in the finals of that qualification. Also have one more chance next week, so fingers crossed for Chinchi or Luxador or even Imo. All three are great options to come through. But I will say, oh, Inno says, "Head up, King, your crown is slipping." But I will say that I wanted to show my face because I figured, you know what, if I end up in Stockholm, I want people to know what I look like before Stockholm comes around, and so hopefully you all see me there.
Yeah, there's also a chance if you don't qualify, there are tickets on, I think, on sale. So if you like fancy for a trip and you know, like kind of cheering for one of the players, there's also a way to participate this way. Okie doke. So yeah, so thank you guys so much once again. Thank you. Thanks to our beautiful audience for being with us, and we'll have another live stream next week, and we'll cover Omaji and Hudrek this time. Yeah.
Awesome.
So the forest guys. Yeah. Okay. So thanks, and have a good night, good evening, good day, wherever you are in Polytopia.
Thank you, and thanks Tolbby for being a great co-caster. Always a pleasure.
It's always awesome. Amazing.
Yes, all the drawings from Tolbby, amazing. Okay, good night.
Bye, guys.